Overthinking is not a flaw. It is not a weakness. And it is not something that suddenly appeared in you. Overthinking is a mind that learned to stay alert. A mind that decided at some point that constant thinking was safer than silence. At night, when everything around you becomes quiet, your thoughts become louder. The world slows down, but your mind does not follow. Instead, it begins to replay conversations, moments that already ended, words that can no longer be changed. You imagine outcomes that never happened, scenarios that exist only in thought, decisions that are already in the past. And the harder you try to stop thinking, the stronger the thoughts become. This creates confusion because you are doing everything you are told should work. You try to distract yourself. You try to relax. You try to force calm. But nothing changes. This is not random, and it is not because something is wrong with you. Overthinking is the mind trying to prevent pain. It does not appear overnight. It forms slowly through experience. At some point, your mind learned a rule, a quiet rule it never announced out loud. If I think enough, I can stay safe. So it began to scan, to analyze, to predict. Each thought became an attempt to stay ahead of what might hurt you. Modern psychology has observed something similar. Research in cognitive psychology has shown that when the brain senses uncertainty or emotional threat, it increases mental activity. Not to solve the problem, but to restore a sense of control. Neuroscience research has also found that when the mind is not focused on the outside world, it naturally turns inward. It begins replaying memories, imagining future outcomes, revisiting unresolved moments. This inward state becomes especially active in silence and at night. Thinking becomes the brain's way of staying alert when it does not feel safe enough to rest. To the mind, silence feels dangerous, because silence means there is nothing to hold on to. No explanations, no rehearsals, no calculations. And for a mind trained to anticipate pain, that emptiness feels unsafe. So the mind fills the space with thoughts, not to punish you, not to overwhelm you, but to protect you. Long before modern psychology, the Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius noticed something unsettling about the mind. He wrote, "The mind becomes its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. Life itself is often neutral, but the mind does not leave it that way. Overthinking is not created by life itself. It is created by how the mind stays with life after it has already passed. Overthinking creates the illusion of control. It feels active, it feels responsible, it feels like you are doing something useful. The mind confuses movement with progress. But most overthinking does not solve problems. It only keeps the mind occupied. Thinking becomes a substitute for certainty, and sometimes a substitute for feeling. The mind stays busy so it does not have to sit with uncertainty. Not overthinking does not mean stopping thoughts. That is a misunderstanding. Thoughts do not stop because you command them to. They stop when they no longer feel necessary. The art of not overthinking is not force. It is not control. It is not resistance. It begins when you stop treating every thought as a threat. When the mind realizes that silence will not harm you, it slowly loosens its grip. When you stop fighting the noise loses its purpose. The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard described anxiety as the dizziness of freedom. The mind overthinks not because it is broken, but because it sees too many possibilities at once. When everything feels possible, the mind tries to calculate every outcome. and calculation becomes exhaustion. A calm mind is not an empty mind. It is a mind that no longer believes every thought requires an answer. Peace does not come from control, it comes from trust. Trust that silence will not harm you. Trust that not every thought needs attention. Trust that awareness does not require constant effort. Overthinking kept you safe once. It served a purpose, but it does not need to rule you forever. When the mind no longer fears silence, it finally rests.